Hi everyone, I'm Ken from Crypto Trading KS. If you're new, welcome, and welcome back to our regular community. Let's run the numbers. Bitcoin currently trading at 33,583, down 1.51%. Ethereum trading at 2112, down 3.05%. We can see the stable coins USDC and BUSD are green. USDT and DAI are red. When a stable coin is red, it means that money is flowing from that stable coin into the crypto market. When it's green, it means the opposite. If you're new, I'd just like to let you know that everything I do for you is free. The focus of this community is to help you to become more of a financial blessing to yourself and those you love. I make all my money from the markets, so I don't have any pay groups, reports, indicators, trading links, anything like that. The thing to be aware of, there are scammers in the community. Just an extension of a very warm welcome to those scammers as well. I don't want you to scam, but if you actually looked at this content, you could become a life-changing force in your own life and those that you love. I'd like to share Rule 777 with you. Become better each day. This is a really important rule. In trading and investing, we all have to work more on ourselves than we do on trading or investing. And always remember, all investors become traders when they buy or sell. If you are an investor but not a trader, you will tend to buy at the top and sell at the bottom. That's why learning to trade is so important. Part of becoming better each day is sharing our love and kindness with those we love. There's a really nice comment from Steve. He's saying that he and his wife, are teaching their 3 children aged 8 to 12, and they've given them a small amount of money to put in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they're gaining valuable life lessons. It's just beautiful. Ping Pang's daughter is becoming more alert and aware. Christoph is doing the same with his 4 children. And I'd just like to reach out and say hi to Rich and Jake. Peter shared this beautiful thing with me last night by private message. I always keep private messages confidential unless I get approval to do otherwise. And of course I always ask for that. Peter's just an amazing person. He bought Bitcoin for his niece, nephew, and his 3 stepchildren. That's just incredible. That's being a blessing to other people. And Peter was actually inspired by other community members to give not only crypto, but the knowledge as well. I think this is just gorgeous. If you have similar stories, we'd love to hear about them and share them inside the community. I'd just like to do a quick call out to Warren and his son Adam as well. Hi, hope you're having a great day. I'd like to share Rule 184 with you. Profit requires patience. This is a really, really important rule and very difficult to put into practice. Let's have a look what Warren Buffett is 90 years old and nearly worth $100 billion. Not bad effort, really, Warren. Well done. Successful investing takes time, discipline, and patience. Patience is really, really critical. Discipline is as well. Warren says that markets transfer wealth from the impatient to the patient. It's so important to be patient. To be patient means that you can withstand or tolerate delays without getting angry or upset. It's all about tolerance. It's a really good and valuable life skill to have as well. Patience is really important. Let's have a look at what Yoda says about patience. Yoda is a Star Wars character and a really cool little dude. You must learn patience. Patience is really so important. Everybody wants to go 1,000 miles per hour when they're just learning to crawl. It's important to go through the steps, walk up each step of knowledge in that staircase, holding the guiding rail, handrail, and make your way up. And don't be in too much of a hurry. Everything comes in time. In episode 117, we had a bit of fun. We said, what if Yoda created a YouTube channel called Yoda Crypto and C3PO created a YouTube channel, C3PO Crypto? A lot of people said that they would. Well, it's really interesting. There were some very, very intelligent comments. One particular comment was from Dinesh. Dinesh is a really cool community member, very proactive in the community. Hi, Dinesh. Dinesh, he basically said when he got in, he was like C3PO. It's going up. No, it's going down. Oh, up. Oh, down. Oh, no. I don't know which way it's going. We are doomed. Then a few months later, he was like Han Solo, just getting into it. Go bullish. It's going to go. And he would say, he's saying now that he's more like Yoda. And he's learning every episode. Well done, Dinesh. That's really cool. Rule 1112. We use the KSProcess to determine the true trend. Now, why do we do this? If we don't know the direction of the market, you can get smashed. You can literally lose everything. It's so important you know the trend. You know the trend first, and then you do whatever you need to do. But it's really, really important you have patience to learn what the true trend is. Rule 209, institutional is not retail. Retail is very emotional. Institutional thinking is completely different. This whole community is all about institutional thinking. Let's dig in a little bit and I'll show you why that's so important. When we're trying to determine the true trend, the news is important. There's a lot of noise in the news, but there's also signal. Elizabeth Warren is jumping up and down now talking about regulation, crypto regulation. But if you look a little bit further, that kind of regulation is quite good. There are a lot of scam operators in the crypto space, and protecting people from scams is a very, very good idea. Now, people are getting concerned that Elizabeth Warren could somehow end up banning crypto in the US. Let's look a little bit more deeply into that. Let's pretend you're now a hedge fund manager with $30 billion under management. You look at the S&P 500, Bitcoin versus traditional asset return on investment. You look at the S&P 500 over the last 10 years, you see it's returned 232%. That's not bad. Gold, 14%. And then you look at crypto. This is just Bitcoin. Bitcoin, other cryptos can move far in excess of Bitcoin. A lot of people have been talking about Bitcoin versus the alts. I'm an absolute true believer in alts. We look at Bitcoin because Bitcoin moves the market. Its fingerprint plays out on all the alts, but the alts are where the fun is. If you're that fund manager and you can see that you could have returned 240,000% within the last 10 years by investing in Bitcoin, that's not a bad return. Really, all fund managers are always chasing the best return for their customers. They're always trying to beat the S&P. This is on an annualized basis, 13% per year over the past 10 years. That means black swan events, COVID, world, global shutdowns, etc. All of that is captured in that percentage. S&P 13% up, gold 1% up, Bitcoin 118% up. A lot of people, especially in the gold industry, don't like Bitcoin at all. And I kind of understand. In the past, I was a gold investor, but I've always been a technologist, so I always had an eye on Bitcoin as well. It's really interesting. A lot of traditional people in the gold industry just think that Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme because they can't comprehend these sort of returns year on year on year on year. It seems too good to be true. They call it a bubble. They call it a Ponzi scheme. They call it all sorts of things. But Always the facts are in the return. It's important to understand that wealth isn't distributed equally. A small minority of people hold the majority of wealth on our planet, which is of course inequitable and just the way things are. But you look at this way. The people with the wealth will not tolerate any single person getting in their road when they can achieve more wealth. It's a really important thing to be aware of how the system works. We may not like the system, we may not agree with the system, but we have to acknowledge the system in the way that it is. These crypto regulations will not stop anything because the wealthy just want to get wealthier. Let's have a look at the KS model. The KS model is a crypto technical trading model based on institutional price psychology. A lot of people have been asking me for projections on ETH and Litecoin. I know they're community favorites, so I want to integrate them in to the KS model. That's why the KS model is now a crypto technical trading model. What I do every single day is I seek to improve everything we look at. I'm always factoring in new information, anything that can help our community. We can see this exponential movement following, because this is on a log scale. We can see these exponential movements. We know Bitcoin's fingerprint rules the crypto market, so the fingerprint is the same. We also know that particular alts have different relative percent impacts from Bitcoin's price movement. You can see those here. You can see here that Bitcoin is relatively flat. It's a little bit boring. We just require patience. This is building a base. You can see Ethereum has come down. You can see Litecoin has come down more. I can literally look at any specific alt in this if it's been around long enough and parallel the movements of Bitcoin to those alts. I'd like to let the community know that I read all the comments. I'm really interested in what people ask of me, and there's some fantastic comments there. One thing that I would like to share are the properties of Bitcoin. Everything in Bitcoin pretty much flows from the halving to the next halving to the next halving. There's a lot of reasons for this. I'll do a deeper dive on that in another episode. What we can say is Bitcoin, and hence the entire crypto market, is halving cycle driven. It is not a linear. This is on a log chart. You'll see many people do linear charts for a log quantity. That's not a good idea. The most important thing to understand, it's not a stock. For example, if you have Microsoft stock, it's really difficult to walk into the 7-Eleven and say, I'll have this thing of milk, and you hand them your Microsoft stock. That kind of doesn't work. Also, there's a lot of characteristics of stocks that are not present in crypto. Bitcoin has a fixed supply of 21 million, which means it is deflationary. That's just a really cool word for saying it goes up in value over time. It's not fiat. Fiat is the money that the government prints, and they're always printing more of it, and that causes inflation. It's decentralized. It's outside central government control. That's why when governments try to regulate crypto, they encounter so many problems. The crypto can just be launched in some other country and all funds can go to that. Just think about telecommuting, working remotely. That means you can work remotely in any country with a favorable tax treatment and the appropriate infrastructure if you wish. It's created what are called digital nomads. It bypasses the financial system, which is a really, really interesting thing. And that is a bit of a cause for concern for existing players. It can bank the unbanked. This is probably the most critical thing. Bitcoin is the foundation for the internet of money. This is kind of a thing that a lot of people new to the crypto space don't understand. Bitcoin is a technology. Cryptos are technology plays. They allow trustless commerce. That means people don't have to go through an intermediary like a bank. They allow smart contracts, and the alts build out on the Bitcoin ecosystem. It's really, really good stuff, and that's why we always do that graph that compares crypto to the internet. It bypasses currencies. It is a global store of value. That means it can be used by any country. It facilitates low-cost global transactions. It's an apex exponential asset class. And it's really forming the foundation of the next level of the internet. I'm a big fan of showing you this particular graph, technology adoption curve in log, which means it goes from 1 to 10 to 100 million, 1,000 million, 10,000 million. It's paralleling in white the growth of the internet in millions of users and the total crypto users in millions as well. Crypto is growing far more quickly than the internet ever did. If you look at internet companies, at the start, I was basically around here when I formed an internet company, around the start of 1993. Showing my age a bit. There was so much government talk of regulations, of timing local phone calls. I've covered this in a previous episode, but this is normal. This is what happens when any technological adoption phase is gone through. I love looking at technology and how it's taken up with the mainstream. What's happening with Bitcoin and crypto is nothing less than what's happened with every major innovation. Major innovations cannot be stopped. I hope that helps a little bit about understanding the potential regulatory impacts. I see it all as very, very positive and totally normal. I hope this also helps to show you a little bit of understanding about ETH and Litecoin and where they play in. This is a real-time model. You can see the value of Bitcoin right here, 33,673. It's changing. ETH 2110, Litecoin 134.01. We're going to have a quick look at the on-chain data to see if anything is changed. What we do every single day is we start with an assumption, things have changed, it's not going the way we want, and then we see if the probabilities support that or disprove it. Right now, the trend is up. We're in a bull market. Bull market psychologies are always this psychological block of bull market psychology needs to be compared to this psychological block, needs to be compared to this psychological block. If we compare sunlight to darkness, we're going to get really confused and make the wrong assertions. We're just going to go quickly through the on-chain data. If we look at stock to flow, we can see that the green line is way away from the basic black trend line. That green line is fairly dark. It could be around here, it could be around here in comparison with the previous cycle. If we go back to the 2012 halving cycle, we're looking for that dark green, could be around here, could be around here. It's really hard to tell with the stock to flow model, but we can see it's in an upward trend. It's a little bit easier to look at the stock to flow deflection. We can see the green signifies a good place to enter. It's looking good. Everything's looking positive. As Bitcoin and cryptos are exponential assets, all exponential asset tops are noted by this blue, which is a blow off top. Euphoria and greed, exceptional euphoria. And every bottom is a blow off bottom, which is called capitulation. It's really easy to see it this way. You have, going back to the previous cycle, the 2016 halving, you can see this euphoria here in blue. And going back to the 2012 halving cycle, you can see this blue, which kind of created a blow off top, a correction, and then went again and finally blew off. And you can see this capitulation in red. That's the hammers in the bottom of the bear market. You can see this capitulation in red. Somebody in the community said that that was really, really helpful to them. I hope it's helpful for you too. We can see that we're nowhere near either capitulation to the red or euphoria to the blue. We've got a long way to go. Looking at realized cap hodl waves, we go through this every particular session. We have one claw here, one hump. All the previous cycles have had 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. We expect 2 more. When we look at the hash ribbon, what we notice about this particular analysis, there's a lot of white space. You can see the peak here for the 2016 cycle. That's the green sun. You can see a lot of white space on to the left and a lot of white space to the right. Here going back to the 2012 halving cycle, you can see a lot of white space to the left and a lot of white space to the right. Where are we now? Where's the white space? It isn't here. Okay, so we look at the red. Where did that red occur? It occurred back here in the 2016 halving cycle, and it occurred back here in the 2012 halving cycle. What does it mean? We have a long way to go. Things are looking fine. We can have a look at reserve risk. We're a long way away from this red. We're close to the green. Everything is looking fine. I always say that you don't have to build a car to drive a car. This is kind of how we look at graphs at the moment. I will do a deep dive on all of these on-chain analytics to help you out. But for now, it's more important that you get an understanding of how to read something. You can see this red area. You can see this spike up, spike up, spike up. They're the previous cycle peaks. You can see where we're sitting at right now is closer towards the green. We're basically at the lowest possible price, relatively speaking, that we can be in terms of past bull market cycles. This is a bit of a new metric that I wanted to throw in. Bitcoin number of transactions to exchanges. You see this peak in transactions here signifying the top. Look at where we are. Things are looking pretty good. It's really important to check the stock markets, which is Rule 193. This is allowing us to figure out how other markets are behaving. We focus specifically on the US market. About $56 out of every $100 that is put into stocks goes to the US stock market. Just like Bitcoin is the dominant crypto, the US market is the dominant stock market. Everything is impacted by the US market. In the past, we've zoomed out to look at these indexes and different stocks and innovation funds, ETFs. I wanted to show you something really, really cool. You notice this yellow line. This is the BLX. That's the value of Bitcoin. What's really interesting here, you see this sell-off in ARK Innovation ETF. It almost foretold the sell-off in Bitcoin. You see this behavior? Even though Bitcoin went a little bit further, it became weak around here, and there were some on-chain metrics that showed a drop back here. Really interesting. I think we could use ARK as a forward indicator for Bitcoin's price action. Let's see how that plays out. But I have a gut feeling after so many years in the market that this is a good thing to look at. We noticed ARK Innovation ETF holding support here, this upward support. Notice that Bitcoin has been coming down, but I believe that ARK will foretell where Bitcoin actually goes. Let's quickly just do an overview. Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is tracking the price of Bitcoin. It's up to resistance, hasn't overcome it yet. Let's look at the Bitcoin fund. That's a Canadian fund, same as GBTC. Let's look at Coinbase Global. Like ARK, it's actually above resistance. ARK, of course, we just went through it. Let's have a look at MicroStrategy. You can see similar patterns. We can also say that MicroStrategy could give us an insight into the direction of Bitcoin. It's going up on support. Let's have a look at Galaxy Digital. Over resistance accumulating in this range hugging that support line that was once resistance. That's looking not too bad. Let's have a look at Riot. Riot is also obeying that basic pattern of Bitcoin. We can see it's overcome this resistance. It's finding support. Let's have a look at Mara. Same, finding support. What does this tell us about the price of Bitcoin? Potentially, it's going up. Hive blockchain, a little bit of weakness here, but Hive is much smaller in terms of its market capitalization, under $1 billion. Let's have a look at Bitfarms. Bitfarms still at support, seeking to overcome resistance. Let's have a look at ARB, Argo blockchain. 435 million in market cap. You find the lower the market capitalization, the more these things can just jump all over the place. That's why we try to track high capitalization. It's over its resistance, turned this to support, and it's accumulating in this range. All fairly good. Let's have a look at the NASDAQ 100. We can see this support line is being held well. I expect that this support will be violated. Why? Because price always moves up and down, up and down. It's always moving in a wave. I needed to get you across this because people are going to call the end of the world when it comes down, and it's just natural price action. Just keep your eye on this. Let's have a look at the S&P 500. Very nice level of support. We can see the major indices are healthy. Look at the Russell 2000. It's partied. Let's have a look at the Dow Jones. Party time as well. Let's have a look at the metals. This downward resistance was turned to support, failed, coming up to test that resistance again. Let's keep our eye on that. What about silver? We can see silver is in an upward trend. It's looking pretty good. VIX is the fear gauge for the stock market. It's decreasing. Let's have a look at the dollar. It came up through this resistance, turned it to support, retested, sought to attack the next level of resistance. It's backed off. Let's have a look at the Treasury note yield 10 year. This short covering is what we've talked about in past episodes. I believe it'll get above there, but let's just see what happens. 30-year Treasury bond yield. It's already above, back to that support line. Let's have a look at the TLT. We can see it got above this resistance and now it's backing off. Let's have a look at the transportation shares. Average ETF. This is quite a good leading indicator of the economy recovering, because as people get back into work, that should improve. That was a really good call out. Thanks very much for that. It's looking pretty good. It's over its immediate resistance and it's got this upward support as well. Let's have a look at the utilities fund. Utilities are really defensive stocks. So what we can see, there was an upward support here. There's resistance. It's kind of going nowhere at the moment, but it's going up. Let's have a look at oil. So light crude oil, yep, it's on a tear. Let's look at Brent. It's continuing. I'd just like to go quickly back to this technological adoption curve. We talked about internet users. Total number of internet users was growing exponentially from this period of time. Crypto is literally at where the internet was in 1997, where we are now. It's cool. But let's see what happened to those internet companies. Were they good investments or bad investments? Let's check it out. Let's have a quick look at Amazon. Amazon is an e-commerce company. E-commerce didn't exist before the internet. The internet created all of these very interesting industries. If you look over the all-time high, Amazon's done pretty well, but I wonder how well it's done compared to Bitcoin. So what we can do is simply go back to the KS model and put the price of Amazon in here relative to the price of Bitcoin. You can see Bitcoin's done a little bit actually better than what Amazon has done. But let's check out, for example, Facebook and Google and maybe Microsoft. Let's have a look at Alphabet, which is the headquarters or parent company of Google. Look at this growth. Wow, it's totally exponential, isn't it? Very impressive. How does it compare to Bitcoin? We can use the KS model to help us out. Let's track Google's price across the years. It's growing really, really well. But if we look at Bitcoin's price, and of course this is the price of alts, because all alts obey Bitcoin's gravity, Google has done really well, but it's not comparing with Bitcoin. Let's have a look at Facebook, which is social networking. And great film, by the way. If you haven't seen it, it's really cool. Look at this. This is pretty good behavior. Excellent. 816%. I wonder how that compares to Bitcoin. Let's return to the KS model. We put Facebook's price action across here. It's done well, but it's quite a long way away from Bitcoin's price movement. It's not surprising that Cathie Wood and Michael Saylor want to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, is it? Let's do one more. This is just more for fun. Microsoft was an operating system company that embraced the internet. But let's have a look how Microsoft has done. From inception, it's done very, very well. Let's see how it compares across the lifespan of Bitcoin. Microsoft is a very powerful company. We've just added it to the KS model. Look at this growth. Really impressive. We're seeing growth from around 2013 odd. So we're just comparing apples to apples, but Microsoft's done very well over time. I wonder how Ethereum and Litecoin compare. Okay, it's definitely getting a little bit busy in here, but you can see the price of ETH here. Look at how Ethereum is behaving. No wonder so many people are attracted into the crypto market. Let's just have a really quick look at Litecoin. Here we go. Added in Litecoin. You can see that percentage movement is incredibly impressive. What's even more interesting is, as Bitcoin continues its path up towards the green and the white sun, all of these alts are going to expand exponentially as well. We do tend to talk a little bit about this case Bitcoin. You can see that the year-on-year return for Bitcoin as opposed to the S&P 500 and overall over many years is actually quite good. I hope that helps you visualize it a little bit more. I hope you found the content useful. Everything I do for you is free. Please be aware of scammers. I've seen some members of the community reach out to the scammers and say, scammers, just watch the content and you can change your life. It's really beautiful of people to do that. I do these videos to assist you to be more of a financial blessing to yourself and those you love. Please reach out and say hi and let me know where you're viewing from. It's really nice to meet people. I'll do my best to always give you a heart and a like. Sometimes I get a little bit snowed under, so apologies if I don't get around to you, but you are in my thoughts, and I always like to reach out and say hi to people. If you would like twice daily updates, 7 days a week, on movements in the crypto market, please subscribe to YouTube and follow me on Twitter. Crypto is volatile. Always prepare yourself for the best and the worst case scenarios. Reality will likely be between them. Stay safe out there. Take care and see you next time. Bye for now.